Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I'm here with you, and you're there over there, and we're doing our 6 feet of social distancing and maybe much more. But I hope everyone's doing really, really well, and you're settling into your stillness, your peace, spending time with the family, maybe doing the things that you've always wanted to do, but you were just way too busy to do them. Maybe clear out that closet, write that book, sing that song, play that instrument, whatever it might be. I hope that you're hanging in there. Today's conversation, I think, will be an important one because we want to find ways and tips for us to be able to speak to our family members, our children, our friends. How do we get into conversations now? Majority of times when we meet now or we go into a conversation, you hear somebody going, "What times we're in? Oh, how dark is it? Oh, what's happening? My daughter got COVID-19. Oh, my husband has that." And it's just permeating our consciousness in such a way that without us knowing, we could be moving towards depression or just total giving up on ourselves. But there's hope. I was on a beautiful Weaver call, and if you don't know much about the Weaver movement with the Aspen Institute, please go to weaver2020.org. There were about 30 of us on the call, and these are individuals who are in service to humanity. And now, of course, everyone's using social media or Zoom. I think everyone's using Zoom. And on the call was also David Brooks from the New York Times, but also the creator of the Weave the People movement, Michael Scholar, who is the director of communications for the Weaver movement, and a host of individuals from around the country. And what I took away from this session was 3 C's, vitamin C's, that in order for us to build our immune system during this time of exile, I don't even want to call it isolation. It's just exile. I'm going into exile to build my capacity and to build my spiritual strength. And so with the Weaver movement, they've actually galvanized people from around the country to look at ways in how they can connect more in service, to help the other person to rise, and to weave more of this narrative of love into our culture. So I can only imagine how some of you parents are feeling with the kids. I mean, I don't even know how you're managing with them at home all day, and you are doing, you're teleworking from home, and they need your attention, and maybe they're not even accustomed to having you for so long. And they want to be with you, and they want to be able to connect with you. And you're struggling because maybe a part of you also wishes to connect with your children, but you still have work demands, even though they're seeing you at home. So our conversation today with Bishop Carlton Pearson, who I met in Denver for the America Meditates Mental Health Summit. From the moment I met Carlton, I could feel a very deep resonance with him. We're going to get him on shortly. We have a special surprise. His daughter, Majesta, Majesta, who's going to be doing a beautiful song, one of my favorite songs, at the end of the program, will be also with us this evening. So what I'd like to do now is just hold a moment of stillness with you. And I'm just checking in. Are you okay? Is everything all right? Are you settled? I know things are changing, and I know we are changing as a result. But this is our time to come out a better humanity, a better person. Yes, it'll get a little bit difficult. All of our old habits and old ways of being is going to come to the surface of our minds. But just hold tight. It's like a bodybuilder. At first, it's really painful when you first start to build up those muscles. But eventually, when you stick in there and the muscles start to get shaped, you're pretty confident at how you're kind of reshaping your whole body, So we are in a spiritual gym, and we are building our spiritual muscles right now. And We're learning to be more patient. We're learning to be more faithful. We're learning to let things go. Things that were very petty are no longer important. We're learning to pay attention to what is important to us. This is a very powerful time for all of us on the planet. This isn't just America going through this. Italy, India, Spain, China has been through it, Russia. I mean, every country is basically going through the same vibrational questioning, but also internal exile. And it's interesting that the best remedy for this virus is for you and I to stay at home and keep ourselves clean. There's something very spiritually connected here. So why don't we practice a little bit of letting go? Just let go of all of these little issues and situations that you just couldn't change, and let go of having the fear of not knowing if you'll have a job or get your paycheck. Why don't we just settle into just this moment right now and just be? Here's letting go meditation. Om Shanti. The time that we choose to be aware doesn't necessarily require me to just sit and meditate. But even while I walk and move around, I can be in a meditative awareness, which is awareness of the soul, the original, eternal, imperishable being of light. For a little while, I'd like to invite you to be present, to be here, and to be now. Allow your mind to settle in the moment, to relax. This meditation is about awareness. It's about becoming aware of your original and eternal self. It's about connecting to your truth. Let go of your name. And observe yourself feeling nameless. Let go of your gender to discontinue thinking you're a man or a woman. Let it go and observe how you would feel walking around without a gender. Let go of the role that you play and let go of the titles that you own. Observe how you're feeling as you are gradually letting go. Let go of your religion and put it aside just for now. And let go of your nationality and even the language that you're accustomed to. Imagine you have no name, gender, role, title, religion, nationality, or even a language.
Ask yourself, how do you feel at this moment? And in this feeling, who would think of you and who would you think of? The Supreme Soul would think of you, and you, the liberated soul, would think of the Supreme. In this state of absolute freedom, I am truly who I am. A free, peaceful, pure, immortal, and eternal soul. Allow yourself to just be absorbed in this awareness. At this time,
I sometimes feel that that meditation is the cure for everything. It really centers you and gets you back to your true sense of self. One of the main reasons why I produce that specific meditation is that our peacelessness is coming from our attachments to name, gender, role, religion. And if it's not working out, it's just going to give us so much peacelessness inside. But what if the cure for everything that we're going through is just mental stillness, mental silence, purity of heart, the purity of one's mind? That's what our exile is about. Our exile is about returning to a pure part of ourselves that we no longer serve. You know, we've been so busy running after celebrities and money and greed and fashion and maybe science and technology and what's the latest iPhone, what's the latest car, what's the biggest house I can get, it's not who we are. And so what that meditation really is about is to go inside of you, the soul, and to awaken the soul to its original potential, quality, purity, and peace. And then you can talk to your kids. Then you can talk to your spouses. Then you can talk to your friends. Because you're not in a mode of fear. You're in a mode of absolute truth within yourself. You know, it gives me great pleasure to welcome our very special guest and brother. And I was thinking of reading his bio, but even as I was reading it, it wasn't important. I have the fortune of inviting our brother, Bishop Carlton Pearson, to join us for our 1 hour session on how to talk to friends and family during the COVID-19 crisis, but also how to transform our fear into faith, and to hear a little bit about his own personal journey and what it has been like for him. But before I bring him on, if for those of you who might not know who he is, let me just give you a window. And to me, it's so much more than this. Who we're about to spend the next 20 or 25 minutes with is a man that has chosen to live a life of truth. A man who knew what he was experiencing and what he had learned in church and with the Bible was a truth, but that he had moved into another dimension, and to have the courage to break away from that. So our special guest tonight is Carlton Pearson, who was one of the most beloved Pentecostal Christian personalities of his generation. Thousands would fill arenas and churches to hear him sing, preach, and inspire. But things dramatically changed when he stood in his mega church pulpit to proclaim a new doctrine, one that declared that because of Christ, no soul will spend eternity in hell. I'm all with him on that one. So, this controversial doctrine, though, polarized faith communities all over the world, and Bishop Pearson wasn't prepared for the rejection and stones that were aimed at him. He lost everything: his influence, his congregation, his church, and he became prominently titled the heretic of his generation. But after spending the last 2 decades rebuilding and rebooting his life, Bishop Carlton Pearson has emerged with a new purpose aimed to help others examine and reconsider and believe who they are. But let me tell you something. When we met in Denver, I felt I was just meeting my brother, who I had not seen for many, many lifetimes. And our conversation would be very open and very easy. So it gives me great pleasure to welcome my wonderful brother, Bishop Carlton Pearson. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. So listen, I am so glad. Let me get my volume up. So I'm so glad that you had the time to join me today. Yes, I can't hear you. I think you're muted. Can we unmute it?
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, okay, there you go. Okay. There you go. Awesome. Namaste.
To you as well. Thank you. I absolutely recognize your divinity.
You know what? Didn't we both felt that when we were in the car together?
Lately, I've been feeling, I've been running into my ancestors. It's like they're gathering around me to encourage me. And the one that has never shown was my grandmother, who was my goddess. Aunts and others, but I mean, everywhere I go to minister or to speak, somebody comes up to me that looks just like somebody I love. You're the first one and the only one who has looked so much precise. I just took a couple of pictures of you, like my mother's mom, who's been gone since '64. She made her transition. Yeah. But you remind me of her energy, of her spirit, the way you wear your hair. It's like it's like she came back to tell me I'm okay.
You know, I think that we're all going through a sort of a revisiting of our past to make sure that we are like sorting it out and clearing it up together, you know? Yeah. So, you know, today's conversation will be a little bit about how we actually talk. There's a lot going on, Carlton, as I'm sure you've seen, right?
Yes, ma'am.
There's a lot happening out there. And maybe I should start with asking, like, how are you feeling personally about it?
I feel like the universe is correcting itself and has been in a corrective mode now for many years, whether that's global warming, whether it's political upheavals. I think we all have to make the change, manage the change, and ultimately master change, because it's on us without our permission. But it has a mission and it has a goal, and it's now to our objective to go and grow with the flow, even when it becomes a flood. It's always about going and growing. The culture is in crisis. The country is in crisis, but consciousness isn't. Consciousness is awareness. And it's
now, didn't the consciousness create the crisis?
The collective consciousness of people who are unaware, like everybody even saying, make this go viral, make this go viral, make sure this goes viral. It's like we've been collectively begging viruses to come. So one came, and it's
I never thought of that.
You know, every other Texas, please make this go viral. This needs to go, oh my God, this needs to go viral. Well, it has, but it's not the virus that people thought. But it's a wake-up call. It's not a final death sentence. The vaccine doesn't cure, it only treats.
Right.
And the virus itself may not kill you, but it will obstruct your flow for a while. So we don't want to put a period where the universe has a comma or a semicolon. We have to be careful about how we use exclamation points or marks. We can make a mountain out of a molehill, and at the same time, you don't want to make a molehill out of a no-hill, because we are on a hill. We are dealing with stuff. And so we need to do it with consciousness, with awareness, with a pleasant welcome of change. However difficult it is, you have to welcome the change.
Yes, yes. So now what kind of conversations are you having at home?
Well, we're talking about less our reactions than what we sense happening in the world. We have never seen this. It's like we've never been to this place before.
Never.
Means. We've never seen, it's because it's not just America, but America is used to disasters on foreign soil. We're used to hurricanes and tsunamis that kill hundreds of thousands, or plagues or famines in other countries, other cultures. We've never known it in America. We've been a little bit arrogant over here. We say it's God we trust, but it's a lot of guns that people are trusting in here. And so they're rushing buying guns. They're afraid of some kind of militia or some kind of militancy in the country. And there will probably be some public demonstrations of anger and fear. It'll be the people who are conscious, who are not walking zombies. You've heard all these movies about The Walking Dead. What's this preoccupation with The Walking Dead? That's a sign of the times. There are people walking around unconscious of their selves or of what's going on. They're moving about, doing things, but they're like zombies. This is an awakening. It's like a global awakening. And we're too polarized and we want to drop bombs on each other. A natural disaster occurs that makes us think more about dropping blankets on each other rather than bombs. We start getting concerned about other people. Not only that, we need to be distant from them, but I say if you have to be 6 feet distant from somebody else, at least nod toward them, smile.
How is that feeling for you? I mean, people come by and they see me and it's like, usually we greet each other with that loving gaze. We call it in the Brahma Kumaris drishti. So I go inside, I go to God, and then I see the God in you and I meet you through my eyes. So I'm used to that. But I tend to be also a little bit on the affectionate side. So I don't mind like patting your back or just like, hey, how are you? Yeah. And now we're told 6 feet distance, please. How is that making you feel?
Well, it makes me feel suspicious of even the numbers. Like 6 is in biblical numerology is the number of the flesh, the number of sin, the number of death.
Is that right?
Yeah, we put people 6 feet under.
Yeah.
Idea of it's really sex, sense, death, flesh. So it's really a subtle suggestion that we are dying, or that we need to have death between us, or death around us. We don't just spell words, words spell us, and sometimes cast spells on us. So we have to, and when I say a spell, that means you're into some kind of enchantment, or you hear a chant, whether that's like, heard of the Gregorian chant, the repetition of a sound, a beat, a syncopation, a cadence or decadence, death. We're wrestling with these terms and they are affecting us chemically and on a cellular as well as spiritual level. So our conversation is important because we need to guide people through this chemical upset in the earth. This is either biological or psychological warfare, and we're trying to psych ourselves into it and psych ourselves out of it. And we need to focus on our essence, which is our permanent rather than our accidental selves.
How would you speak to kids under the age of 16 about what's going on, or why they can't go outside, why they can't play with their friends, why grandma can't come over? How would you talk to them?
I say to the young people, this is your world. This is your generation. This is your creation. We spend a lot of time with iPads, iPhones, and iClouds. They're very accustomed to this. They're not reacting the way we older people are because they're used to.
Who are you calling old?
The senior citizens there in the room with you. I'm a young man from another part of the.
Yeah, I got you.
I just turned 67 last week, so I'm feeling. My 90-year-old mom is right here, and she lives with me, and I'm dealing with the generational bridges and brandings, and dealing with my physicality, my psychology, my biology, my spirituality, my sensuality. These are all, and sociology. These are all things that are crowding on us right now. How can I be socially kind? I need people. I want people. I love to be around people. Then I love being away from people, distant from people. Don't want to hear a sound of a human being. I love them both in their right place. Right now, I'm looking at the leaves coming back on the trees because spring is coming.
Yeah.
It's green, but I endured the leafless trees. I live around a lot of trees and a little pond here. And I love it when it's in season, and I accept it when it's not. It's cold,
Right.
skinny, and ugly, and somewhat, if you compare it to the lush greenery of the springtime. And I'm welcoming every season. This is just a season. It will pass. Embrace
Yeah.
the season and be embraced by the season. For some reason, the universe has ordained or ordered its existence for a divine purpose larger than all of us.
You know, I've been thinking about the fact because of social media and technology, now the whole world is sharing the same collective karma. You know, World War I, World War II, if there were famines, you would hear about it maybe 3 months later or a month later. You'd get a telegram, so and so is having a war over here, or this and that is happening. But here, Carlton, everyone at the same time vibrationally is feeling this energy. And it is upon us, spring. Nobody can go to the cherry blossoms here in Washington, D.C. And it's as if the universe is saying, almost to some extent, you can't even enjoy the nature right now. I just need you to hunker down. I need you to go inwards and look deep inside of yourself so a better humanity can emerge. And I'm not sure if everyone is feeling that, but I was talking to some friends the other day and I went, it's the best time of the year. This is the time that everybody wants to go out and enjoy a walk in the park. And everyone is told, stay home, or else the virus is going to spread, and we can't allow that. How do you look at that spiritually or religiously, even? I know there are two stories there.
The idea of staying home, it's the other more important message is going home, going back to
Going
your
on.
original ideology or the original idea that spawned your existence on the planet. Why are we here? We're around people that we live with, but we're not interacting with them in the home. There are husbands who work or wives who work, and now they're both in the house together all day, and they're about to blow each other.
Yes, I've heard a lot of calls.
The kids are here, the dogs are here. We're forced to interact and to be confrontive without being combative, because things we've ignored by being separate are now we're being confronted with us. First, it's unity. All we have is each other.
Yeah.
Most people prefer to be around their friends and their family. So we really neglected family. And the house has been only a place where everybody sleeps. People want to
Right. And eat, maybe.
go to parties and get out. So we're being forced to accept our human existence together. And it's an in-your-face thing. I mean, it's on the news, it's in the media, it's on your cell phone. Nobody can escape this. It's all over. So it says stop, pay attention, pause. Don't park where we are, but just pause where we are and seize the moment and be seized by the moment and the momentum. There's nothing but growth. This is growth, expansion. It's very powerful.
There's a saying in the teachings of Raj Yoga meditation that charity begins at home.
Yeah, scripture too.
And sometimes we struggle with being charitable with the ones that are closest to us. Any reason why?
We're mostly intolerant of the people we love because there's this expectation and this sense of entitlement.
And familiarity too, right?
Breeds contempt, yes.
Right.
We've gotten so used to being excused and excusing loved ones from the responsibility of love. We assume love and presume that they don't like us. Most people don't feel liked. They only feel loved. They'll say, I don't feel.
Say that again. I love that one.
Most people don't feel liked. They do feel love from their parents and their spouse and their children and their siblings. But most of us, even when it comes to God, feels inadequate, guilty. There's a sense of criminality or shame or inadequacy. And so we're now being forced to say, okay, I know you love me, but do you like me?
But do you like me?
You like being in my presence? Because when you say, if I say, I love Sister Jenna, I am saying, I love the part of myself that I experience when I'm with you.
Right.
At the same token, if I said, I can't stand Sister Jenna, I'm saying I can't stand how I experience myself when I'm with somebody. So the only you'll ever love, not love, like or not like, is you.
Absolutely. So when it comes to being at home then with everyone all up in your business, how do you talk to them now? Especially, I'm concerned because a lot of the mothers have been calling me. They have kids between the ages of 8 and 16.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as they might tell them, don't go outside, do this, they're not listening. They're still wanting to go out. They don't even know what it's all about. But what would be the best way that you would suggest to parents that they can actually sit and have a really good heart-to-heart conversation about the times they're in and what might be the learning curve?
For parents, I think a lot of times right now we'll say, don't go outside. But another part of us says, I wish you would please go outside. Go away, leave. So it's really mixed signals, and the kids can feel it. Now you're saying, don't go outside because you might bring a disease in here. And then the other part of saying, please go outside because you are a disease in here. You're a virus in my house. Go away. So a lot of loved ones do that unconsciously. We love our pets and we love our parents and we love our people. But there's also another part of us that is displeased with them for whatever reason that you have to walk.
Expectations, do you think?
Excuse me?
Do you think it's our expectations, Nanda?
Yes. Yeah, and the sense of entitlement, like I'm supposed to take care of you. I'm supposed to love you. I'm supposed to protect you. And you're supposed to love me and protect me and care for me and be sensitive to me. But you haven't been. You've been gone. You're always away. You don't think about us. Now you're forced to be with me. And you don't know what that means. You don't know. You don't even know how to be with me because it's those few hours every day. You're with your friends. You're on your job. You're passion. Now you got to sit in here and look at these walls. Or look at TV, or every man doesn't have a cave to go to. You talk about a man cave; he just caves in. So
yes, he has to. He has to if he wants to stay married longer. So tell me something. When you have, let's say you've got a couple, you've been married for 20 years. Mm-hmm. Both of you, maybe on average, in a week, you spend maybe 10 hours together for the whole week. Now you're spending almost 10 hours a day together, 12 hours a day awake together. Yeah. And let's say there are feelings inside of both of you that you are not able to articulate with the other person, with your spouse. How should a couple start that conversation, especially when they know they've become distant from each other? And work and the kids was simply a distraction and a support to just not give them the permission to confront each other. How would you suggest that they should start to talk to each other while they're at lockdown or exile?
Well, you start with thinking out loud, with dignity, with tact, taste, and timing. You have to be, for instance, if the mother is a homemaker and is usually there, she runs the house, she plans the meals, she plans the structure and the flow of the house. Now you're there as the husband or father, and you don't know the flow. And you don't know what she does and has been doing all this time. What I say to all my male friends or husbands, first pay attention if you have a stay-at-home wife to what she goes through during the day and try to identify with her. We don't think about, I've been doing home stuff for a while now. I spend a lot of time at home. So I cook, I clean, I shop. Things I never appreciated. I accepted, but I didn't realize what females who run their homes, what your mother or your sister or your wife, or sometimes your daughter is presumed to do and expected to do. When you start doing it and you do 2 or 3 meals a day and you plan.
Yeah, it's a different cup of tea.
So if you spend all your time in front of a computer or on your job or with your business, or sometimes it's the other way around. The female is the one that's the corporate executive or works outside the home.
Yes.
And the husband's office is at home. So he picks up around the house and cleans and makes dishes and says, baby, what should I get for dinner? What do you want me to put anything out? Or I'm preparing this today. The role playing needs to be studied and changed. I need to study. I've been a student of my children since they were born. I'm their pupil. I learn so much from them. I observe them. I'm a student of my wife. I have to learn her moods and her modalities and her mind. I'm a student of my parishioners or my friends. I'm always learning, and I learn better how to relate to the people closest to me. It's easy for me to relate to a person on a stage. I'm on the stage, there's thousands.
That's a whole different, yeah.
It's so different when it's face to face.
Because
not
you
just
show up, you see yourself completely with those 24/7 relationships. You can't lie to yourself because they're with you as a mirror every day for you to check, who are you? What are you about? So talking about the church, it must be going through quite an interesting time right now. Many pastors are no longer able to pastor their herd, so to speak, or stand on the pulpit and get the donations that they're used to getting for their churches. I just heard that President Trump is planning to open up the churches and the country by Easter. So I'm not quite sure what's the genesis behind all of that based on whatever CDC is saying. But how do you feel? Let me reframe this. What is the role of church, especially in these times?
Well, there's two Greek words that are used prominently in the New Testament for church. One of them is kyriakos, which means assembly or congregation. The one that's used most, even by Jesus, when he says, upon this rock I'll build my church, is the word ecclesia. Ek meaning out of, klesis meaning called or summoned. The called ones are those who hear the voice, and the Greek word for voice is phone, where we get the English word phonics. There's a certain divine phonetic in the earth. There's the phonics of the divine and of spirit that it doesn't matter what your religion is or your particular denomination or persuasion is, you hear that sound. And you are the church that responds. We got to get away from just having church or even doing church and being the church. Where so many preachers like me get a lot of our self-worth and self-value from our performances on Sundays from the pulpit. We're used to the adulation of the crowd. They listen to us. They respond to us. They say amen to us. And we're doing our thing on the stage for 45 minutes or an hour. We Pentecostals are there 2 hours. And so I find out that a lot of my brethren, I say, man, I don't know what to do with myself. My time, I'm so used to getting up every Sunday morning and getting on that stage or getting into that pulpit on Sundays or on Wednesdays. My crowd's gone. Then you also think the offering is gone. And when you have older congregations who don't know how to pick up their cell phone and make an offering, they're used to maybe writing a check and sending it. So the offerings are sluggish, especially for the older congregations. And there's a spirit of fear. I think the church is having to reconsider the organization and the institutionalization that has pretty much deteriorated its spirituality. We're more into organization than organism or organic or orgasmic experience when the Holy Spirit, as I say, the Spirit of God just bursts in your soul, it bursts in your mind, bursts in yourself. And then there is an organic process after that. Then you become an organism, a living entity. Then you organize. But what happens is all we have in many churches anymore is organization, structure, no anointing, no energy, no spirit, nothing orgasmic. I think the church needs some spiritual hormone treatment.
And tell me something in terms of that. Have you spoken to some of the pastors, and what have they been telling you they're feeling?
They're afraid because they're wondering if the congregation, and I'll tell you something that most preachers won't admit. But every Sunday I stood before thousands for years. And every Sunday I wondered if they'd come back next week. Every single Sunday. I've spoken to a lot of my colleagues who have big crusades and venues and auditoriums and stadiums. They're always afraid that the crowd won't come back. And the other thing they're afraid of is, will the anointing show up? Will the Greek word for charisma, for gift is charisma. Will my grace be there? Well, because I can't stand on that stage by myself. I need that special. So there's a lot of fear mixed in with our faith. And these are saying now they're getting comfortable with streaming services. We've always worried about that, those who are in the ministry, is because if a person could stay at home, have a cup of tea or coffee and in their bed and watch me on TV and not have to worry about parking attendants or parking places or spaces getting in and out of the parking lot. I'm talking about for mega churches, standing in line, rushing in, trying to get a seat. They say, I can sit there in my drawers and listen to this man preach and love it.
And still get something from it.
And when they get ready to raise the offering, I can turn the TV off. So my preacher friends and I are discussing, what do we do with this new modular crowd?
Yes, yes. What's coming up in the conversation?
Yeah, who may not come. But cyber is the way of the future. I have a friend that wrote a book called Jesus in a Digital Age. And it's a powerful book. And he lives in South Africa, is going to be doing a special on it on Friday, just talking about it. I like the book so much, I audio recorded it for him. Where does Jesus fit, or where does religion fit, or where does spirituality fit in such a profoundly scientific world? I think of Eve, who said, supposedly in the narrative, the Hebrew scriptures say that a serpent, a reptilian, spoke to her and said, you won't die if you eat of that tree of the science, which is what knowledge means, of good and evil. You'll become like God. For some reason, she was intrigued by that. We've always given Eve a bad rap. She is the one that said, I'm not satisfied with my spirit. If I can become more like God, or more godly, or my godness, or my goddess by eating from that tree, I'm going to experiment with it. And when she did, and she's the one that got us into New Thought, when she did, then she served some to her husband. But she was the one that was curious enough. Adam was obedient, but Eve was curious, and Eve was adventurous. Eve, the theme, and the King James 16th century English translators translated the word Chava, Hebrew, for mother, or mother of all, to Eve, like evil or evening or darkness. There's a subtle nuance with naming her Eve, because that is a suggestion that the female is evil. That's why we've been mean to females culturally, globally, for millennia. That is being corrected now. But
I'm glad it is. I'm glad it is, because I think
finally, yeah.
Yes, I'm glad it is. I think that's why I've been observing and spending more time with women who are spiritually empowering themselves. And I've seen that because of their spiritual empowerment, they're inspiring men to change without saying a word. And I found that to be a very, very powerful form of transformation. You spoke about fear and faith, and I know we're going to come to a close because we're going to get Majesta on, and I can't wait to have her come on in a minute.
She's ready.
And there are questions, I think, out there for you. But before we just get into some questions from the audience, talk to me about the best way to remove the fear and the anxiety that we're going through now, where faith and love is at the base of the soul.
Fear is faith in reverse. Fear of a serpent is faith in its power to destroy you. Fear of a storm is faith in its ability to disrupt you. So fear is energy, and so is faith, and sometimes they run close seconds to each other. Some people have more faith in what they fear: a virus, a sickness, calamity, economic collapse, defeat, than they have in the positive reinforcements of faith toward a positive ultimate end. Many so-called Christians or people of faith or believers fear God as much as they faith God.
Wow.
What you fear most will ultimately be your reality. You will experience. By the same token, what you faith most, you will ultimately experience. But if your faith is tied up in your fears, like we're afraid the virus is going to get us, we're afraid of breathing someone else's breath or sharing our breath with them, so we wear masks. We don't want to touch them. We want to cleanse ourselves from other human beings. This whole idea of social distancing and social detachment, and this whole idea of protecting yourself from your own family members, from your
weird
parent, that fear creates a disease or dis-ease, a tension on the planet that can manifest physically later in tumors and cysts and growths and migraine headaches and insomnia and loss of appetite. when you start fearing you could be a virus, or I can be viral. So I'm a threat to my children. So if a parent won't hug the kid, I'm a threat to my aging mother. I'm a threat to all the people I love. That whole mentality is crippling the psyche of the culture. So we have to be very aware of the signals and signs and significance of these kinds of experiences, and not become the virus itself.
And equally, since we feel that we can get something from another person, similarly, we can also pick up the virtues and the values and the qualities of a person if they're around me long enough too. It's all vibrational. But if we're focused on the fear and the dark and the gloom, then of course that's what we're going to feel is our reality. Before I go to questions, what's your definition of soul, Carlton?
Of soul?
What is the definition of soul to you?
Soul is the essence of who I am. It's my immortal, immeasurable, immediate, immanent self, the immutable part of me, the part of me that does not change, has always been and will always be. Greek is called psyche, English is psyche or psychology, my thought life. So my soul is the part of me that has always been, will always be, and is the only part of me that is authentic.
Beautiful. Your definition of God?
And the farthest reaches and rhythms and maybe regions of consciousness, there is a reality that we call God. I think it's nameless, ageless, spaceless, defineless, or infinite. To be infinite means without definition. There is no definition of God. Because if you define God, you put, as in Spanish, it's el fin, you put an end on God. So God is not so much indescribable, but all you can describe God is the experience you have of God. And you would have to know whether that's God or not. So God is beyond our reach as far as in any way defining it. And I think we should embrace the mystery and be embraced by it. The closest to God any of us, in my opinion, will ever get is self-actualization. To actualize, factualize, functionalize yourself, who you are as a human being human.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, I've often thought that the energy of God is just so pure. And if I just keep turning my attention towards that understanding, it eventually fills me up with that purity again. What's your definition of reincarnation? Do you believe in it?
Yes, it's speculative. I'm more into pre-incarnation for some reason than I am into reincarnation, because it seems my soul has a memory, and that my soul seeks love, but how can you, perfect love, but how can you imagine something that you've never experienced? In my soul, I remember not just being loved, but being love. Not just having peace, but being peace. I've been having these, what I call spiritual deja vus. It's like a flashback. Wait a minute.
I love those.
I love it. Aren't they wonderful? I've been here before. I've got this. Oh my God, this isn't new. This is me. It's an extension. It's an expansion. It's mystical, but I love the mystery. I don't look always trying to find answers, conclusive answers to a lot of things anymore.
Right, right. Because every time you have a realization, you realize you didn't know anything before.
The one thing I know is I don't know enough.
Exactly, exactly. My interpretation of reincarnation or rebirth is that the soul is such an eternally pure energy, and it has to live out. It has to come into bodies, play out the parts. When it's done, it moves on, plays another one. But it gets to a particular point in its life that it's holding a lot of memories of the past. And we can see what's going on with people and their personalities. We're holding on to some old stories. And the connection to God, the connection to source becomes like the bleach, it neutralizes, it cleanses, it somehow just brings everything back to normalcy. And we start to radiate our purity again. And I feel as if the times that we're in, Carlton, they're calling us to have this love link with source so we can sort out all these past karmas that is sitting in us, because intellectually we're not able to do it. It has to be a soul experience. Santosh, do we have some questions for Carlton?
Yes, Suhani shares, how do you communicate respectfully to our senior parents who sometimes struggle to comprehend what is happening as with children excited for this discussion?
Did you hear that, Carlton?
No, I didn't.
How do you communicate with a senior parent in the home during these times, especially when they're just not able to understand what's going on in the house and why they can't leave?
Well, touching and embracing is very important. When my mother, she's 90, she's in the beginning stages of dementia. She gets sometimes very disoriented. She'll watch the television, watch the news. She gets confused on what day it is. Holding her or him a lot, or even if they're not used to that physical contact, you hold their hand, you stroke them, brush their hair.
Oh, that's great.
Tuck them away, giving them something to make sure they're warm. My mother likes ice cream, so I'll bring her. I don't care if she's 90, she eats too much sweets.
And likes pakora.
I just pretty much give them what they want and play into them because they're like children. So children love to be held and made to feel secure. And that's what aging parents need more than anything. Not always understanding, but to feel understood.
Beautiful, beautiful answer. Any more, Santosh? Beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Vivian shares, he loves What's a Nice Speech, and
Vivian's loving whatever we're saying. Go ahead. What's the question?
Oh, Suhani shares again.
No. Anyone else?
Okay, so Nikki, Tina shares, Nikki and I are enjoying the spending time together and discovering stillness. It's like taking time off to just be with your mother, Sherman. I don't know.
So a mother and daughter are spending time together and they're just enjoying the time of being together and sharing. So it really is a time to come together and be with folks that you would have never, ever spent that much time with, I have to tell you. But I know there are a lot more comments and questions, but we are coming to a close and I want Majesta to be able to come on. You got one more good one?
Yeah. Dr. Clarence B. Jones says, how are you getting your message out to the public when you don't have the platform of traditional religious leaders in the USA, but actually be labeled as a rebel of traditional Christianity?
So Dr. Clarence Jones is asking, how do you get your message out to a platform when you don't have a traditional platform anymore? How do we get our message out?
Well, the immediate platform is cyber. I mean, that's how everybody you can reach the whole world in seconds. And I believe this, I can't prove it. I believe there are people on this planet whose soul is assigned to your message. Mm-hmm. They're waiting for you. We don't just have a testimony, we are a testimony. And when you go out into cyber, you're there and they're waiting. There are people that are just surfing constantly, waiting for your voice, because there's a certain sound that you make in the earth, in the universe, and they're listening for that sound or waiting for it. And they don't even know what they're waiting for, but when they hear it, they'll know it.
No, that's so true. I get that. My very dear friend at Unity of Washington, D.C., Reverend Sylvia Sumter, always reminds me of that too. Well, I can't end the show without bringing your beautiful, wonderful daughter on, Majesta, and have her come on and maybe just say hello and sing us into a beautiful closing of a meditation. Majesta, are you there?
Yes. I'm here.
She's
gone. Good. Come on, come next to Dad. Let me see you. Look at you. Dad, don't leave. Don't leave. I've enjoyed you so much. And as we've been talking a lot about the current times that we're in, and I'd be curious to even hear a little bit, like, what have you learned so far with what you're witnessing going on at a global level?
At a global level, well, it's the first pandemic I've ever experienced, aside from, reading about the viruses and the flus that came before my time. So to be like living in this time is super crazy. it's so crazy. It's like a little numb because, like, you're right, Pops. A lot of our generation, we are glued to our phones and social media, and so like the lack of actual connection is something we have been growing more accustomed to.
Right.
So, but as far as like the economy and things like for what our future could look like, it's scary. I'm relying, you know, a lot on my parents and what they know about the economy and all those things. So it's a little weird.
It is a little weird, but I think you've got what it takes because through your music, you've been wanting to educate folks. You were on a reality show called The Four, and everybody thought you should have won. And you're also the beautiful daughter of Bishop Carlton Pearson. And you have a very beautiful voice, which is where we first met in Denver.
Yes.
And connected on that. And so when the offering came that you'd love to sing one of our favorite songs by India Ari, I Am Light, there is no way I could have said no, because this would be the perfect way to end our conversation tonight. And Bishop Carlton Pearson, thank you for this time. Can we do this a little bit more often next time, have a little bit longer time to just play and be naughty online in the future?
Whatever you tell me, I'll do it. You're such a...
It was just great. I just want to thank you so much for taking the time.
I adore you. Thank you so much.
Me too. Me too. All right. Take us to God, Majesta. Come on. Let us go up and go into the light and feel absolutely complete.
We love India Ari. She's precious.
Me too. I love her.
The call to action for us, I guess, would be to use our talents and use our passion to help spread love in this time. So I'm happy
Yes, beautiful.
to do that today.
Thank you.
I am light. I am light. I am light. I am light. You are light. You are light. You are light. You are light. And I'm not the things my family did. I'm not the voices in my head. I'm not the pieces of the brokenness inside. I am light. I am light. Whoa, whoa. I am light. I am light. You are light. You are light. We are light. We are light. I'm not the mistakes that I have made, or any of the things that cause me pain. I'm not the pieces of the dream I left behind. I am light. I'm all light. We are all right because we are all light. We are light, we are light. And you are light, you are light.
Really are.
I am light, and I'm not the skin on the outside. I'm not my age, I am not my race. I'm a soul inside. I'm all light. I'm all light. We are all light. Oh, we are light.
Yay! Hey, bravo! Thank you, guys.
you, Jenna. This was a
Me too. Gotta come and see you soon.
We'll
yes,
do it again.
please.
Definitely. Love to moms. Take care.
Able to eat breakfast with us.
I will. I'll cook.
Okay.
Bye, guys. Thank you so much.
Love you.
Thank you.
So I hope everyone enjoyed our wonderful heart-to-heart talk with Bishop Carlton Pearson. I told you it was going to be a beautiful show. And for us to have actually ended it with his wonderful daughter, Majesta, and her beautiful song, I Am Light, originally sung by India Ari. Another wonderful friend of ours. We have to get her on the show next time. I hope you took away something that was really priceless for you. I know I did. Especially the part about taking care of my parents and just holding my mother if she needs that, just to be held. She might not need logic or information, she just needs to be held. And that helped me a lot because we're taking care of Sister Gita here. But if you have any further questions that you'd like to ask, please feel free to send that to us and we'll be happy to fulfill it. Talk to your kids, even though you want them to go outside. And sometimes if they're inside too much, they might be driving you up a wall, but find a way. And I like what Bishop Pearson said about if you're in a relationship with a spouse that you really haven't spoken to for a long time, let your spiritual dignity of your thoughts start to come through your mind and let that spiritual dignity speak words and find ways for both of you to reconnect again and see if it's really a priceless relationship, so to speak, or find a way at least to bring some virtues and values. What I would like to leave you with is the message of always remembering that you really are the soul, the light within. And it's in need of your attention, it's in need of your thoughts. And if the soul has been thinking only of the physical world and its physical needs, then it's going to feel peaceless. If the soul gets a chance to rekindle its light by remembering God to be the supreme energy of light, and I've thought a lot about this, how this coronavirus started with one person and how that one person spread that virus, and how when you started to see the symptoms, you realized you had that virus. Similarly, if our souls, since we are all souls, we can start to connect and believe the energy of God is upon us, is with us, and feel that God's love is an ocean, God's purity is an ocean, God's peace is an ocean. And I start to show those symptoms, I become more peaceful, more loving, more joyous, more kind, more caring, more patient, then I'm going to show you, I think I've got God with me, and I'd like to share God with you. So I feel that this exile and this time together, folks, we're being called to rekindle our loving, intimate, deep-rooted relationship at Source. Next week, we're going to offer you the Raj Yoga meditation course, which will be 5 lessons straight, 1 hour apart. We'll take you into the aspect of what is the soul, what is God, karma philosophy, the cycle of time, the powers that we all offer. So look out for an email on that and feel free to sign up if you are interested as well. Thank you so much for letting us into your home. And I hope you appreciated coming into our little, what we call the ashram. We got this wonderful hyacinth. This is a hyacinth. And I have to tell you, the smell of this is phenomenal. The whole room has the smell. This is how we have to become. We have to become as fragrant as that flower, that just one of us on the planet will spread light throughout the whole world. That's how fragrant we need to become. All right. Thank you again for joining us. Please be safe. Please stay home. We only have a little short time left. Find a way to use your time, your thoughts, your words, come up with your talents, your skills, learn something new, do something creative. We're in the age of the arts. We're in the age of something really creative. It's a creative time. This is like our second chance at our renaissance. So now we can start to do a lot of things that we've always wanted to do. I'm going to be starting to sing, because That's what I think I need to start doing. But just find something that you really have wanted to do. But don't let go of God's love. And don't let go of taking care of the soul. And remember, every choice that you make carries a consequence. So let us be well, be pure, be peaceful, and be happy. Take care. Thank you for joining us today.